So, hello everyone. I'm really glad to see you here again. So today we team Badriyah and the Swan Couple. I'm going to do some menu designing, the start menu and the pause menu essentially, and we're gonna look into some UI elements, some buttons. Yeah, that's essentially it. Because the thing is that for now, we want start screen and the post screen as that they are the most important things, and then we will further add in settings after deciding whether we want to give users like what settings control do we want to give the players, like changing the screen resolution, window mode or full screen, and then changing the volume of the music and sound effects and etc. But for now, just our goal is to just lay out the basis for the start menu and then the pause menu essentially. Yeah. So without further delay, let's get into it. So I have this Unity screen set up. So we were there in our climbing level demo scene. Now you guys must be familiar with it. So this is a little castle that I will be gray boxing on later, but let's jump into this little zone today as well. So as you can see, what we when we play this game right now, we are just it starts right away, and then some fighting happens, nothing happens on escape, we have to quit it from here. So what we want to do is we want to start from another scene, and then when the player presses start game, then we're going to come to this scene, right? So let's go to to an empty scene called menu here in asset scenes. Yeah. So first thing, so this scene is basically it's gonna have the UI canvas only, nothing else, right? So let's right click here and go to UI, and let's create a panel actually. So as you can see, we got our canvas, and here it is, and then we can focus on it by pressing F. Here we are. Now, in the panel, we can select a background image, a source image. So I actually have some images that our teammate Badriyah, who is responsible for art and everything, she made us these beautiful images. So let's add a background of this image here. So I'm gonna put it here. So before adding the background, I'm gonna make sure that this is not this is set to sprite, 2D, and UI first, right? So only then I can add it to the background in the panel here. So the alpha value is quite low. Let's set it to 255, very high. So now that our background is set, what we want to do is we want to add some buttons to it. So let's actually do that. Let's create UI button. So this would be our first button. We would basically call it start button. And if you pan this, you'll find out that we have a little text here. I don't like this text, it's very limiting, so I'm gonna get rid of that, and instead I'm gonna put text mesh pro. So in Unity, I think 2020 version, you get this imported here. It's asking me to import text essentials. So I'm going to do that. And there are examples in extras as well. Features, I'm going to do that as well, I guess. Because there might be two things as well. But all right, so let's call it just simple text. Okay, so this is our start button here, as you can see, and then this is text inside. you cannot see because of the image. Let's change the color to black, actually, completely black. And then let's set this new text within the premises of the button. So I'm gonna press this button on any corner, and then I'm gonna hold Alt key, Alt key, right? So I can do it from center, right? If I leave the Alt key, then you can see I can do it from the corner, but from the center, for doing it from the center, by holding Alt key, and then yep, that's good enough, I guess. And instead of new text, let's write start new. Okay. So actually, I think we want font size to be this or bigger than this. So actually, let's make the button bigger. Again, Alt key to do it from the center. So I guess this big is good enough. Yeah, let's try that. And for the text as well, let's if you press Alt key before pressing the corner, then it's gonna just do the view. So first click on the corner and then Alt key, right? So we are here, and then the text should be aligned to the center. So vertical alignment and horizontal alignment. Start new game. Now, let's also make this button go a little bit above here, because we are also going to add a few more buttons. Maybe here. And then the thing is that for the button, wait. So for the text, I guess we should make it a little bolder. I was fine with 36, honestly. And then, yep, we got more fonts by importing extra. Otherwise, we'll only get this Liberation Sans font. So this is pretty good. And Roboto font is also nice. Well, okay. I'm gonna go with Banjos, I guess. So because it's a little italicized, and then I'm also gonna add some underlay, make it softer, and I really only in the X, not on the Y, right? So just like that. Cool. All right, so I guess our text decoration is good. I'm gonna go with the white color. We can add gradient afterwards. There is an option of gradients right here. If we add it, we can add colors, or we can also make an object here of type gradient, and we can import it wherever we want to, right? So as you can see this, so we can add these colors and then import it to the text. But right now I'm gonna go with simply the white color. Let's go back to our button. What we want to do is, as you can see, there are some colors here. When we hover over it, the highlighted color is going to show up. When we press it, this color, like we want a little darker color there. That's a normal convention, and that's what like looks good and tells user that things are happening, like visual response, you know. So for normal color, what we're going to do is we're going to make alpha 0, right? It's going to start from here. Or we can give it a little bit alpha, so that maybe 20. Unhighlighted, we're gonna give it, I guess, let's go to 90. It's fine. And then for the pressed, it's gonna go all the way to, I guess, 170 is fine. And for the selected, now we just want to click and press. We don't want to keep it selected, right? So, and for that, we also want to make the navigation go none. So this does the trick. I don't know like exact reason, but the thing is that when you, it's for the joystick, right? So if when you're on Xbox, then the button has to be selected like that. It's not nothing like hovering it, something like that. But for now, we want to see the hover and the pressing feedback. So I guess let's try it right now. So as you can see, if I hover over it, we are getting feedback that yeah, we have this button selected. We haven't pressed it yet, but when I click it like that, I'm holding the click, so that's why it's holding the color and this level. So we are getting some video response. Um, so I think our button looks fine visually. Maybe a little bit up or something like that. I guess this is a good place for that. So let's duplicate it actually. Control C, Control C, and for the next buttons, what else do we want? So we want the player to be able to start the game or to quit it, right? So these two are obvious. And then when we develop the when we finalize the settings, what settings do we want or something? So we want a settings button as well. So we will just create it. We will not add a functionality to the settings button right now, but we'll create it and add it later. And then there should also be a loading from a certain point. So if the when we add the save and load feature, just like many other games do have, like the finalized versions, so they can save the game at a certain point, and then the players can load it from the starting screen, the main menu, from a certain checkpoint. So when we add that functionality, we will need the button for that as well. And yeah, I guess these four buttons are enough. So start new game button should be a little bigger, but the next buttons should be a little smaller. So let's call this settings button, and in text, let's reduce the font size to, I guess, 30 for now. No, 30 is not enough. 25, no. 22 works, or 20 does as well. Okay. I guess 22 is fine. So let's say settings here, and let's reduce the button size now. Alt, whisker size, and everything else is gonna come here. Because we duplicated the button, so for the text we need to reduce that size as well. So just like that. All right, and then let's just go a little bit above, and we can now duplicate this button. Actually, settings should come at the third place, I guess. Let's duplicate it and then call it load button, and that's right here. So for the load button, we should change the text as well. Let's call it load game. And finally, we need quit button. That would be the text as well. Quit again. All right, let's put all these buttons inside an empty game object, I guess, just so we can make them move together, and also we can put a script to that so that these buttons actually can start working. Let's call this button, let's call this game object menu, and All right, so inside our canvas now we have our main menu. But for the main menu, we have to resize that so that it will cover everything. Oops. So, okay. Now, if you feel like it's a little bit not at the center, then we can make it go to the center. Or it's about good enough though. All right. Okay. So I guess that's good enough with that with this reference. Now that we have our buttons, let's go. So that's how our setting screen is going to look like. Now, I feel like the normal color is shouldn't have no alpha at all because this doesn't look good to me. So I'm gonna change that. I should have done that earlier, but well, now I have to do it with every color. But it's fine. Every button, I mean. But yeah, we only have 4 buttons, so go. There we go. I guess it looks fine. Looks good. Um, Now let's add a functionality to these buttons. So for these 2 buttons, we're just gonna put some debug log or something like that, just so we know that they are being pressed. For the quit game button, it's relatively simple to implement it, so we are going to do that. And then for the start new game, of course, we're going to implement that. But for the load game, we don't have a loading and saving system ready yet, but we are planning to do that. And then once we will be making that happen, then user will be able to simply load game from a certain checkpoints. There will be a list of checkpoints or a last checkpoint, and then they will be able to go from there, right? And then for the settings as well, the max settings what we'll have would be another menu just like that. It will have a slider which we can add simply by going to UI and then the slider, and the slider would be controlling the volume, and then the other things would be the graphics quality, max, min, medium, and then there would be instructions for the keys as well. And yeah, we will see if we will be able to make a system for key bindings that users would be able to customize them. But if not, then at least we'll give them instructions. So they will open that, and then the instruction screen would come in after, something like that, right? But for now, let's go to the start new game and quit game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a script here in the main menu. I'm going to call it main menu script, and let's go inside. All right, so as you can see that we have, I'm using Sublime again because it's very faster than Visual Studios, but Visual Studios is genuinely helpful, but more helpful because it shows like functions and everything. But yeah, it's faster. So let's go. So what do we want with the main menu? So we want start game button. So once that start game button is pressed, uh, the the next scene would be loading, right? The climbing level demo scene. We don't want anything with these 2 methods then, right? We just want start and quit button, and then if load game is pressed, then that's functionality would happen here maybe, or in another script. And then if users press settings, then it will just simply take it to another scene that would be the settings scene, right? We'll be creating a new scene for the settings as well, of course. And when they press back, this scene will be loaded again from the settings, right? So this is how it's going to work, I guess. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, as I deleted those methods. But for scenes, first of all, let's call scene management here, because to use the method called load scene, we need that. So Unity engine dot scene management. So there we go. Now here, we want to make a public method. The thing is that when we have our button here, the start button and everything, so we want to call those methods here on click. This is a Unity event. We're gonna call those functions that we are writing here, the methods that we're writing here, there. So we want to make them public, right? So public, and they're not returning anything. So let's make it void as well. Start game. When you're gonna call a start game, okay? So what's gonna happen here is simply one liner. So scene management dot load scene. Okay, so we can give it a string argument that would be the name of the scene, climbing level demo, or we can give it the index number, or if we want to make it, you know, load the next scene or something, we can also do something like get the current index of this scene +1. Right now we're going to check through build settings what is the index number of our climbing level demo. It's 1, right? So instead of writing climbing level demo, I'm going to do 1. But climbing level demo, writing something like that is better when you're going to have similar names or something. But the thing is that you should not plan to go inside the script again and again. So I'm not going to use a scene named climbing level demo, because there won't be any demo in the final version, right? I'm going to delete this scene, of course, and I'm going to have another scene which would be called, I guess, house, castle, cave, or something like that. So, but those would be in a hierarchy. So it's better to use something like this, right? So their build version. So first scene, let's say, would be our house. So I'll just remember to put our first scene to 1. Like it would have an index of 1, right? So that's how it's going to work. So let's just do this right now. And then for the next method right now would be quit game. Quit game. So as I said earlier, so quit game is simply this application dot. However, in the editor, we will not be able to see anything. So the editor would not close by using this. So this will only close the application when we are in build, right? When we have a build and we are playing the game actually through that executable file. But right now, if we want to check that if the button is working, we can simply call debug.log, and we can say is quitting. Okay, now let's go back to Unity, and scene management does not exist in the current context. Oh, let's go back. Why doesn't it exist in this current context? Did I mean a typo or something? C M A N E. I'm so sorry. So it's not scene management. Download scene manager is inside the scene management. So we get scene manager here. Right, scene manager download scene. So this is very. These are the things we consider trivial. But anyway, we have our fix, which should not have occurred. But so when we are in start button, so on click the Unity event, we're gonna give it main menu because our script is attached to that. And then in the main menu, we have our function called start game. And similarly, with the quit button, we're going to do very similar thing. Give it main menu. In the main menu, we have picking. For the other two buttons, I'm not going to add anything right now, but as I told you, we can check them with debug actually. So let's check quit game first because it's not going to quit it, but it's going to give us an error. Okay, so the button is working actually, and the application dot quit would definitely work. There's no reason it would never work. It will not work in our build. So that button is working perfectly. Start new game. Okay, I clicked it. It's taking some time, and we are on our level. So our main menu buttons are working. So for load game and settings, for settings, we will need another menu, another scene, just like that. We can copy it, and then we can change the button's name and everything. And then we can add a back button, which would do something that like start new game is doing. So what it will do is we'll simply go back to menu, right? So it will load this scene, this particular scene. So it will be this menu, right? So that's that. Now, next thing what we want to do is we want to make a pause menu. So I'm going to go to Quantum level demo. So for the pause menu, I have to create it inside here rather than making a new scene. Because if we shift from this scene to another scene, then loading the scene would start from like the beginning, right? So our character would start from where it is starting right now. So this place, our enemy would be standing here, and imagine the scene being like very big, like, and then we're starting from here. It won't make any sense, right? So the pause menu won't work like that. So how it will work is we want to create a canvas here inside this particular level. So let's do that. Let's create a simple canvas and let's call it pause menu. So now what we want to do is we want to make it. Okay, so first thing is that it is screen space overlay, right? And the next thing, we should do this pixel perfect. So it's not gonna affect us right now, but if users would like to play, I can't think of any reason why, but if they like to play it in very small resolution, like below 800 into 600 or 640 into 480, then our text and everything would not distort, right? So the pixels were set up accordingly. So with that being said, let's create let's actually create a panel. And background. So what we can do is, one thing is that we can simply add nothing here and then just add the color alpha to be like higher so that it will feel like we are pausing here on the screen. The other thing is we can add an image, and it will have everything like post screen and everything. So I guess we can add an image right now. We can change these images anytime, but maybe it would look better if you think about it, like uh, rather than having like if the player stops at any point, then they can't see everything. Like for example, an enemy is attacking them, and they can observe the situation, right? Like by pressing the pause continuously, like after every second, they to check which enemies are coming and things like that. So this comes in a little bit about cheating. Maybe that won't help them more, but a lot. But still, it would be better if we just put a pause menu image there rather than just allowing them to see what is happening in the scene at that very moment when they pause it. And a lot of games actually do that. So I'm just going to do that as well. So we are here at this panel. Where are you? Okay, let's set it as 2D right now. Uh, so what we're seeing is similar screen, similar image as of our start menu. We can change the image. We can add anything else. But right now I'm just going to use it. So it would be easier to change afterwards. But right now, let's use it. So we're seeing the image, and then what we're seeing here is our action UI. It will be found here, go back to UI. So that is like player's health and everything, right? So when we pause it, we don't want this to be here, but we'll discuss this later. We'll fix that. Right now, let's add buttons again. So what buttons here do we want? We want a resume button first. Let's create UI button, resume button. Let's open it. Let's call it resume. Make the font size 6, maybe bigger, like 40. Let's make the text. No, actually, let's make the button bigger first. And I think the font size should be even bigger. Okay, that's fine. And the text size now. All right, so I guess that's work. That's working. Cool. Wait, shouldn't have done that. Rather than without pressing Alt. Okay. Okay, it's fine. Again, what we did back then, making it all black and normal color having 0 alpha, highlighted color having, I forgot, but maybe 85 or something, and crest having 170-ish. Okay. One more thing is that the color of the text is not white right now. Let's make it white. Cool. And then let's make the button a little bit higher, just like that. Resume. What else do we want here? Scope it first. We want quick here as well, of course. Whether we're gonna give the users the option whenever they want to quit, but in between, we also want to give them settings so that they want to change the settings in between. So settings is going to be here. So settings size must be smaller, just like before. Change the text size there. Text size, I remember we had it set as 22. But 22 seems very small here. I don't know why. Maybe it would seem small there as well. But I guess this is cool. 30. Yeah, that's it. We didn't bold the text here, and the font size is not. What did we use? We used pen. Yes. That's why it seems smaller. Okay, okay, it's fine. In the settings as well, we're gonna go with our bold and this, and we're gonna call them settings. So now it seems like we need to go up to 22 or 24. 4 seems better. And the button size should be smaller as well. So that was text. I again did it without calls. Cool. Now the button size. Actually, I should set the button size first. Or if we set the button size, then uh, text is also automatically going to be, let's see. Yeah, it's going to work. So we have our settings here as well. What else do we want? We want quit, as we discussed earlier. Quit button. And we can also give them the options to reload from last checkpoint or reload or load game or something like that. So before settings, let's give them to load the game. Load button here. Settings button is there. So for load button, let me change text. Load game. Okay. And for quick button as well. Yeah. All right. Now let's fix their positions. And the thing is, okay, we did not create that right now, but like the main menu or something. Actually, let's do that. Let's create empty false menu and load everything inside it. So, and you want its size to be good. And now we can just move this whole thing with us. As this works. So test this. No, yeah, let's test this. So it's overlaying the screen. Underneath it, the game is working. So okay, yeah, well, we forgot another thing. We did not do that navigation thingy. So navigation should be set to none if we want the pressing and hover effect. None. All right. So here now what we want to do is we want to pause and resume the game. Okay. So let's create a script here again. Add a component here called announcement script. Okay. There we are. So here what we want is basically we want the update method to stay because we want to check every frame whether the escape is the key that I'm going to use, and that is the key that many games use except for Need for Speed Payback. I remember there was a tab key and it was very confusing because a convention is escape key, of course. So that's why I'm going to use escape key. Here we don't need anything else because we don't want to load any scene right now. So what we want to do in this update is if we want to see basically if the game is not already paused, then pressing escape would pause it. So for that, let's create a public and static Boolean variable called is paused. Set it as false because at the start the name is not false. Okay. And then we're going to see if input dot get key down key code dot escape. If this key is being pressed, then we're going to see that if it's not paused already, then we're going to make a method called postGame, and it's going to call that method. Okay. And then the resume key, we're also going to have a method called resume game. So void pause game, because there's no other method to pause the game. We don't need to set it public to make any other, to allow any other button or anything to make it make the game pause or call this method. So, but we can set it at public if we want to pause it at any other event. But yeah, we will figure that out. But right now we just don't want that. So what do we want when the game is paused? We want the screen to be paused, time to be frozen. So for that, simply we want time scale. So normal value of time scale is 1f, f as in float. But if we set it as 0, the time is gonna get stuck. So wherever the game is, it's gonna get stuck there. It's just like paused, literally. And then we're gonna set our is pause variable as true, of course. What else do we want to do? Before doing that, no, not before, but like when the key is pressed, we want our canvas, like the whole post screen, to appear only then. So before that, let's turn this panel off. Okay. It will be on when the game is paused. Okay, it will active when the game is paused. What we want to do is that we can get a game object here, public game object called. We can call it pause menu UI. Okay, and then we're gonna make this pause menu UI dot set active result for. Okay, now in the resume game method, we simply wanna do the opposite of that. So the normal, as I told you, is 1f. The game is not paused anymore, and pause menu screen should be disabled, should be set inactive. So there we go, resume game. Okay, and for the quit game, of course, quit game, just like we did it previously. Quit game. It should also, oh wait, these two things would be public. We send that because what am I going to call them? So let's do this thing. So application quit. Trust me, it's gonna quit. But let's just still gonna do debug.log and say that just to find out that our button is working, is quitting. That's it. So again, I did a thing there. I just did not use a camel case for that. So I guess yes, we do not have any error anymore. But I did not fix that. Okay, I did not fix that. Time scale there as well. All right. Let's try. No, before trying, actually want to set the buttons. So pause menu was a script name, and we're gonna resume game on this button. And the quit button, pause menu again here, button canvas and pause menu, and we have a function called quit game here. Cool. So Unity events, quit game, pause game, resume game, set. So our system is working. I'm pressing oops. The variable, oh, okay. So I forgot one thing. So I said that the game object here. So what you should do is it's gonna, when I come back to script, it's gonna make this thing here. So pause menu UI, it's gonna make room for this, and we're gonna give this our panel here. So once our panel is enabled, everything is gonna be get enabled. Here we go. I pressed escape, and here we are. And now, as you can see, this is not being removed. Let's pick that in a second. So quit game is being quit. And resume game is getting resumed from right there when we were fighting. So, settings. Oops. So as you can see that it's being resumed. So there we are. So it's working now. Now let's fix this thing. So as I told you guys that it's this thing, right? So just like we added this menu, we are gonna say that at, let's call it player UI, and gonna make room there in the what do you call that, inspector window below the script, and then we're gonna, when we pause it, we're gonna set active as pause, set what active, not pause my name is like player UI, and when we resume it, we're gonna set active as true. Okay, so let's see if this works. Before doing that, now I won't forget. Yeah, yeah, here. So as you can see, there's a room for that, and then global actions UI, you can put it here and see whether player UI goes or not. So we can pretty much do this for every UI actually that we don't want to see. So you can see no UI here. Setting button, nothing happens. Reload game, nothing happens. Quit game, quitting, and resume game. We are back. All right. So as I told you, that's it for this. And other thing what I wanted to cover was reload from last checkpoint. So as a player dies, what I want to do is that visit me. Come on, the next try. I set how to very low so that a player dies on one strike. So yeah, instead of doing this, what we want to be doing is that we're having a screen like that. It will freeze the time, and when the player presses reload from last checkpoint, only then the player respawns. So that's simply similar to what we have done here. It's just that there, what I want to do is I want to go in health script as well, and when the player dies, only then I'm gonna call our similar menu canvas like that. I'm gonna copy that actually, and I'm gonna rename everything and every functionality. But yeah, it would be similar to this. Reload from last checkpoint, load game settings, quit, right? So yeah, when the player health gets 0, we can reload it. And yeah, the similar function for respawning, whatever whatever we did in last stream with me for respawning, it will happen on pressing the button. So we'll make a separate method for that, and that will happen only on the button press, just like we did choosing Unity event and everything. And other than that, it will be settings and yeah, load game functionality. And it's also like we also need to add save game here as well. So when we save game at last checkpoint, we'll name something like that. So because we can't load game if we haven't saved it, right? And for the only way to save it would be to press F5 in the game, or to come here and make a manual save. Or we can also auto save the game and make the save states there. But I also want to give users opportunity to save the game at a certain checkpoint. So we'll see about that. Whatever we will choose, we'll discuss with Zine whether we want to give them the ability or not, or we'll autosave and load from last checkpoint in the start menu. But if we don't give them the ability, then in the main menu thingy, what we'll have to do is we will also need to add continue game. Yeah, that's something that is very conventional. So yep, in this menu we'll add start new game, continue game, load game, or something. And then the start new game would not be this big. It would be similar to the other size, and the continue game would be bigger, because we don't want players to click here accidentally. And we might also need to make like are you sure window, so that they won't lose any progress. So yeah, that's it for the menu, I guess. I hope you enjoyed the stream and you learned something. And uh, let us know in the comments whatever you think of it, if you have any other suggestion as well. And also, I think we're at the end, so stay tuned for the next stream. Kutban team is gonna work on the thing, and I hope you will enjoy that as well. So thank you so much for watching and listening to me, and I'll see you next week, hopefully with something, I guess, something related to sounds, I think. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching.